October 14th, 1066, the fate of England would be decided on the fields of Hastings. But before the first sword was drawn, before the first arrow loosed, the battle had already begun in the hearts and minds of those who would fight it. Harold was no stranger to war. A skilled commander, he had led men to victory before. And yet, as he prepared to face William, something was different. Historian Max Sugar has suggested that Harold was suffering from a deep, almost paralyzing depression, brought on by the weight of his excommunication. Was Harold fighting for his kingdom, or was he fighting a war against God himself? On the eve of battle, a message arrived from William's camp. It was a reminder, one final warning. Any man who resisted William would be excommunicated. For Harold, the news changed little. He had already accepted his fate, but for his army, it was another story. They had fought hard, marching the length of England, clashing with the Norwegians at Stamford Bridge, exhausted, bloodied, and now on the eve of battle they were told that their cause was damned. To raise their swords against William was to raise them against the will of God. And then there was the banner, the crossed keys of St. Peter, a symbol not just of William's approval but of heaven itself. No good Christian would strike against the holder of that banner without doubt gnawing at his soul. It is no wonder then that discipline crumbled. The English line, so steadfast, so determined at Stamford Bridge, faltered. They saw the Norman cavalry retreat, and rather than holding firm, they chased, and they were slaughtered. Harold had already justified his own actions in his mind. He had sworn an oath to William, yes, but under duress, and he had honoured the dying wish of King Edward. If there was judgment to be had, God would decide it, and if not, then he would die. But William had his own faith to draw upon. As he prepared for battle, he attended Mass, receiving communion. Around his neck he carried the very relics upon which Harold had sworn his fateful oath. To William, these relics were not just symbols, they were weapons. And William had used them before. In the weeks leading up to the invasion, his men had been stranded on the northern coast of France. The winds refused to turn in their favor. Morale was failing. And so, William turned once more to the sacred. The body of St. Valery was brought out and venerated. Offerings were made, so much gold, according to Wace, that the reliquary was buried beneath it. And soon after, the winds shifted. Did William believe in miracles? Or did he know all along that the time was right? Historian Peter Rex has suggested that William was not waiting for the winds, but for Harold's fleet to withdraw. If that was true, then the veneration of St. Valery was not divine intervention, it was calculated psychological warfare. And now at Hastings, that same strategy was playing out. The relics, the banner, the threat of excommunication, it was all part of the battle before the battle. It was a war of the mind, a war of faith. Even Harold's brother Gurth saw the danger. He urged Harold to stay back, to let the army fight without him. If Harold fell, England was lost. But Harold refused. He had come this far, he would see it through. And so, excommunicated, burdened by a broken oath, facing an enemy carrying the relics of his perjury, Harold fought, and he fell. The battle for England was over, and the relics, once used to bind an oath, had now bound a kingdom. Solemn music fades out.